Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. On a beautiful April the 23rd, 2019, Big C will be calling in shortly. This is Charlton and Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Show. I just want to say today is a beautiful day. It's actually a warm day here in Northern California. I was thinking of how beautiful it is. Just not too long ago, we had a lot of snow and a lot of road closures, especially coming between Nevada and California. A lot of people were having to go up and down the mountain, Interstate 80 and Highway 50 up here in Northern California, and just realizing how beautiful it is in this part of the country. I know a lot of people are looking forward to what's going on in the world of basketball. Have a lot of good basketball games tonight. We also have some NHL hockey that we'll talk about too. There's 2 Game 7s on tap tonight, skating on ice. Just got finished with a nice Easter weekend, and we hope that a lot of people are still having a great time enjoying their families. I want to send a special thought out to a very good friend who had a passing in the family, and just want to say that our thoughts and prayers are with you, and just keep your hopes up, because all is great when you have a lot of hope in God in your life. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you reach out and go and drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. And I know we got Big C just joining the show. I just know, Big C, I was saying how great the weather is here in Northern California. I know down south, about 3,000 miles away, you guys still deal with a lot of rain and a little bit different climate, but it's about between 80 and 90 degrees this weekend they're expecting. Yet I know a lot of people were just clearing up the snow just about a week or two ago. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we had a beautiful spring day down here in the south, 80 degrees we got down here also. So, yeah, I mean, as you look at spring coming in to take over, but it tricks us down here all the time.
Yeah.
We get 3 or 4 days of sunshine, then all of a sudden we get 2 days of rain. So we never know what to prepare for.
Yeah.
Keeping the car clean is the toughest thing to do this time of the year.
Yeah, we know Mother Nature can be a practical joker. I'm thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. Of course, I just always want to say that Big C Sports, thank you for following Big C Sports. We can be heard on iHeartRadio Network. We can be heard on Apple Podcasts. We can be heard on Google Podcasts and many other platforms. Also on the Xfinity Comcast, you can follow Big C Sports on the iHeart app. So much happening in the world of sports, and I know there are a lot of people getting ready for the Kentucky Derby coming up, but it seems like 1 week after the next week. Just got finished with the Masters. What a great happening that was. And then we had Easter. Now we're coming up on the draft, but even before that, there's a lot of good things happening in the sports universe. Give me your feeling tonight. I know before we even get into that, I just want to say there's always talk about something. And, you know, news broke last night. At the end of every show that we do, we always say no sexual assault. You know, it's not tolerated. Oftentimes, women don't even report it because the person doing it is somebody they know and trust. That's how they let them so close. And we're not a judge and jury, but there are women going through hell right now. And oftentimes, men never have to worry about it. Most men never have to worry about being assaulted. We know it's happened to some boys. But when you're a grown man, it's really something you have to think about. So the thought that came out about Luke Walton and being sued, you know, for assault, it's just an accusation. But I don't want to be dismissive of the woman. And his lawyer came out and said she's an opportunist. Anyone can have any opinion, but I do know this. Every 20 seconds in this country, there's a woman assaulted. We gotta end that grudge. I just want to get your feeling on it, Big C. We don't know what happened. Your thoughts?
Well, no, we don't know what happened. I mean, it's always a breaking news story when it does occur. The thing about sexual assault in this country is that women are automatically discredited when they bring forth their claim against a man.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part. And that's why so many women over time have not come forth with this horrific act that has occurred against them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be beat down by society. They're going to be beat down by attorneys. They're going to come up with every allegation against the woman.
Yeah.
Not against the assailant, the male who's perpetrated this act, but the woman becomes not only a victim, but she also becomes, judged by everybody else in society, even before she even gets to trial.
That's right.
You look at the scenario here with the alleged incident with Luke Walton.
Yep.
And many other males, professional athletes and coaches, and even professional males.
Yeah.
In everyday society. They always attack the women. The woman's already been attacked by the man.
Yeah.
But now she's being attacked by the judicial system, being attacked by the media. It's amazing that women never have any credit when it comes to sexual assault.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, if they had to put themselves in that position, what? They can't wake up and walk down the street during the day?
Right.
That's putting yourself in a bad position. You're not allowed to go anywhere in society and socialize like everybody else. That's putting yourself in a bad position. Women should not be in peril every time they walk outside their house. And even inside their house, these things happen.
Yeah.
But sexual assault is a very serious allegation. And I guess because everybody's looking at the Robert Kraft scenario saying, well, because, he was entrapped. How was he entrapped? He went there voluntarily.
Yeah.
His car, he drove his car there.
Yeah.
That place didn't come to him. He drove his car there.
Twice.
So he, aided and abetted in sexual assault.
Twice.
So, when we look at this situation with Luke Walton and many other males that have been accused, give the women the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
What does a woman have to claim when she comes forth and says she's been sexually assaulted? And many of them, Charlton, have gone in and done the DNA test.
Yeah.
And still, they have been discredited. Realistically, when you look at sexual assault, only one person really has been convicted of it. That's Bill Cosby, a black male.
Yeah.
Every white male that has been accused of sexual assault, the woman has been discredited.
Yeah.
From the president on down.
Yeah.
So as a white male, you have white skin privilege. You're the elephant in the room.
Yep.
You can commit a sexual assault, and the woman will be discredited.
Yeah.
But if you're a black male, you're more likely to go to prison.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I was thinking about, because I know we hear about fraternities. There was a girl down at Stanford a couple of years ago that was drunk. She was inebriated. You know how some parents tell their kids to get drunk because they want them to celebrate their 21st birthday? So go out and make yourself prey to predators, right? Just ignorant. But some people do it anyway because they always think it won't happen to them. So they'll put their kids in that environment and say, go get liquored up and let your friends take care of you. Your friends are the ones who assault you. It's not some guy walking out of a grocery store at nighttime in a grocery cart. So the thing with Walton, he's going to get all the white skin privilege you can get. I remember Kobe Bryant was in that situation. We had Mike Tyson was in that situation. Both of those guys went to trial. There was a guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. Big Ben was in that situation. We know a lot of people get accused of different things. And it can happen to anybody. Bill O'Reilly was in that situation. Fox News paid him, $30 million to walk away? POTUS has had his lawsuits where he sued everybody. And you're right. Matt Lauer's been in that situation. Nobody's heard from Matt Lauer. Bill O'Reilly, no one's heard from him. Weinstein, they're all Caucasian men. And the women that accuse the Caucasian men, just like in the days of the antebellum days and slavery and Jim Crow, those women had no power. But these are white women going after white men. And I know Gloria Allred she's too busy still celebrating, her thing with Bill Cosby, and that's the happiest moment of her life. It's mostly white women who are assaulted. And that's true. It's been that way since slavery. It's been that way since Jim Crow, because no one could come forward and say anything. They didn't want to lose their position in life. Big C, does that make any sense why they're so quiet?
Well, Charlton, yeah. They say embarrassment. The thing about it, a woman is embarrassed twice.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. She's embarrassed because she's been assaulted.
Yep.
She's going to be embarrassed in trial because they're going to try to make her assailant the victim.
Yeah.
In this scenario.
Yeah.
They're going to do everything they can to discredit this woman. They're going to look at her past, which her past has nothing to do with the assault that has taken place.
No.
So, even the lady with Walton, they're going through her background, her Twitter accounts, and all these other things.
Yeah.
Why can't she just be taken at face value for what she said?
Yeah.
Why are you going back into her life 5, 10, 20 years to see what type of person she was?
Yeah.
The incident is the incident. It's not about a person's overall life. The incident is when it happened.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that you should be studying. But that's not what they want to do. They want to discredit. I mean, you look at Michigan State's athletic department.
Yeah.
All the alleged sexual assaults that occurred there.
Yeah.
You know, and coaches covered it up. Tom Izzo and the football coach.
Yep.
You know, he's covered it up.
Yep.
We saw what happened with Larry Nassar there at Michigan State.
Yeah.
You know, so as these, you know, the University of Baylor, look at the sexual scandal they had there under Art Briles.
Yeah.
So as these things are covered up and the women are marginalized
Yep.
about their value in society, and the athlete or the male is, you know, he's more valuable and you don't want to destroy his life.
Right.
That's always what comes up. Well, you don't want to hurt his life. You don't want to hurt his future.
Yeah.
What did you do to the woman, you know, when you've gone out and committed this horrific crime against her?
Yeah.
And she has to live with this the rest of her life.
You know, to me, I've never had anything bad happen to me in my whole life. I've had sometimes men try to challenge. You know, you play football and people have fist fights. I've had my share of those, but I've never been hurt. And as a young boy, I took up boxing and martial arts, and I realized how strong that made me mentally. Not to be afraid of someone, but also how to defend yourself, because you do find knuckleheads that looking for a whipping sometime. But it's your discipline that stops you from hurting somebody, not talking tough. And I would hope, I know people may not agree with this, I know when I was a boy growing up, we had PE, was mandatory. But something that wasn't mandatory, that some of my friends that come, you know, from China, they were taught martial arts. Now, I would wonder if there's a study that shows of the women who are taught martial arts, if they are less assaulted than the women who are just taught to be nice and, you know, don't rock the boat. You don't want to get some guy in trouble. I would wonder if there's some study out there, because I do believe this. There are some women that I know in law enforcement that know martial arts, and the assaults don't happen to them because they have a posture about them and they know how to disable somebody immediately without crying and hoping that somebody's nice to them. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, you know, every situation is not going to be like that, Charlton. You can't go around studying self-defense, everybody in society, thinking that these incidents are going to happen to you. You hope that people are better than that you will not be assaulted just going through an everyday routine in life. And you think about how much this interacts with sports. You think about Solomon Thomas, the defensive end with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
He had a sister, Charlton, who was attending the University of Arkansas on a volleyball scholarship.
Yeah.
She was sexually assaulted while she was there at the University of Arkansas by two athletes. She reported it, but the university handled it internally.
Yeah.
They weren't criminally prosecuted, but she was never able to deal with that as a person, Charlton. She went into a deep state mentally. You know, she ended up using narcotics, and eventually she took her life, Charlton, 2 years after this incident occurred.
Wow.
Think about that. This was a young lady playing athletics, and two athletes sexually assaulted her. She reported it, and the university did nothing to criminalize these young men. They did an internal discipline with them.
Yeah.
But she ended up losing her life because mentally she could not handle it, Charlton. Think about how many women that have been assaulted by athletes and other people in society that could not handle it mentally, could not go on, and ended their lives, unfortunately. Solomon Thomas is an NFL football player.
Yeah.
He could not even help his sister.
Yeah.
But his sister was an athlete down in Arkansas. And so think about how that affected the whole family mentally. And many other families that this has affected. This is a thing that we don't hear.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about suicidal situations in the U.S.
Yeah.
We don't know what drives it to it, but young women who've been sexually assaulted and have not been defended by society or law enforcement,
yeah,
think about how they must feel mentally.
Yeah.
That they must feel that they're nothing. They have no value anymore because no one believes them, regardless of what they say.
Let me ask you this question, and I know different parts of the country, people have their own feelings, but as an African-American male, I know the Emmett Till story very well. And when you think about Tiger Woods from Stanford, Luke Walton, at the time, I believe he was on the staff with the Golden State Warriors, Bay Area. They're an hour apart. Now, I just want to ask you your thoughts, because you're down south, so you see things that may be different look than I look at it. But when Tiger had the issue with his wife, the relationship, there was no assault. There was no one had the police called. There was none of that. There was a spousal dispute, and mainstream media made it seem like he committed a crime for having his windows broken out by her. Okay, she's the one that assaulted him, but he's a black man, so media all over the world, they put him out there as some type of predator, some type of person who is not fit for society, someone who's going to look and prey on some woman. If there were women giving him whatever he wanted, they volunteered it. Now, I want to contrast that and juxtapose that to Luke Walton. Luke Walton's had a woman, both of them were white women. Luke Walton's had a woman go to the law enforcement about what happened. And I hear a lot of mainstream media saying, well, let's hold judgment. Let's hold judgment for an assault. But Tiger Woods got assaulted too, Big C. But they made it seem like he was the bad guy. Do you see that? Why is that the case? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Tiger Woods controlled the world at the time.
Yeah.
And he had too much power. You can go back to the movie Malcolm X, when Edward Boyle was playing a police officer, and Malcolm X made a gesture to his followers, and they all, followed the command.
Yeah.
And Edward Boyle said, that's too much power for one man to have. But in essence, he was saying it was too much power for one black man to have.
Yes.
That's the position that Tiger Woods was in. That's the same position that Mike Tyson was in when he was prosecuted.
Yeah.
When you look at athletes that have been prosecuted, majority of them have been black athletes that have been prosecuted. And I'm not saying these guys are innocent. I'm going to be sure that a lot of them are guilty in these situations.
Yeah.
But when we look at the double standard about how people are prosecuted and not prosecuted, when it comes to this, people say, well, money gets you out of. Well, these black athletes have had money also. But these white athletes and coaches have money.
Yeah.
But they're holding judgment on them. They're not rushed to judgment as far as believing the woman.
Yeah.
But when it's come to the black athletes, there's been a rush to judgment of believing the woman.
Fire them,
because you wanted to devoid them of power.
Yeah.
You wanted to demasculize these guys.
Yeah.
Where they had control over society as well as the sports and the pocketbook. You didn't like that certain sectors of society.
Yeah.
And here it is, as you're saying, hold judgment on Luke Walton. The woman has gone to law enforcement.
Yeah, exactly.
And so right off the back, the media is out there discrediting her because she went to law enforcement.
Now, that's a very good point, because I'm going to defend for white women, because most of the white broadcasters won't do it. They're going to accuse you of doing something wrong, or even like his attorney said, that she's an opportunist and she just wants money. She had her own money. She's working.
Well, let's go back years ago. Marv Albert.
Yeah.
Okay? Marv Albert was accused of sexual assault and convicted.
Yeah.
Convicted. Sports broadcaster Marv Albert.
Yep.
And they had photographs and all these other things
Teeth marks
of what
and
he
everything.
had done.
Yeah.
Marv Albert got convicted, but he was brought back into mainstream.
Yeah.
They embraced him and brought him back. This man is convicted sexual predator, and he's on television every day.
And Gloria Allred is nowhere to be found. Yeah.
So it all depends on what your value is to somebody.
And your skin
color.
color.
They say, okay, we'll push this under the rug and let it go.
Yeah.
But Marv Albert is a convicted sex offender, and he's still allowed to work on network broadcast.
Still working. And then one more thing I'll get on, because I know people say this. I've heard some guys in Northern California, well, she wore high heel shoes. She's 6'1". Why does she need to be in high heel shoes? What a dumb knucklehead. And some radio stations let those guys on to say that. That's so insensitive. Even if she could have been barefooted, they still would find something wrong with it. But Bob Kraft got some favor by the judge, that good old boy network. The judge temporarily blocks the release of spa video, so people can see with their own eyes what happened, how they got those women down there, and they won't let them get out. No one's concerned about those women who are entrapped. Imagine if those were all little blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girls that were being held up and trapped, and grown men coming in and having their way with them. There would be Gloria Allred would be all over the news. You can't find her anywhere. Leonard Hasser's the judge, and Friday there's going to have a hearing to dismiss the entire video. You say women shouldn't come forward? They're trying to tell the women, if you come forward, we're going to demonize you and make the video go away. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is what we've been talking about all the way through. You want to demonize the women. You want to make the man a victim in this situation. You want to destroy the evidence. So why even have a trial?
Yeah.
The video is the evidence why you're going to trial. So if you don't have the video, why is there a trial? So you dismiss everything at that point.
Yeah.
The prosecutor has no choice but to dismiss.
Yeah.
But the evidence is there. After that, then what will the NFL do? What will the NFL discipline policy come under?
Nothing.
Because Robert Kraft was arrested.
Yeah.
Okay? He was charged. So how will Roger Goodell and the rest of the NFL owners handle that?
Yeah.
Will he get a pass? I mean, think about any NFL player that's been charged with any type of assault towards a woman.
Yeah.
They've been penalized.
Oh, there's a lot of
them. They've been suspended.
Yep.
You think about Ezekiel Elliott. He got 6 games. There was no video of his assault.
That's
even
right.
the NFL police said, there was no evidence to suspend him.
Jameis Winston, look what happened to him with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, we've had it all over the place. It's amazing they want to get rid of the video of Bob Kraft doing a crime, but there was Hunt for Kansas City. They showed it all over the news. Black man, right? Lost his job, lost his career. Another team picked him up. Also, the kid for the Ray Rice for the Ravens back in the day. That video was all over the place. I just want to ask you one thought before we get on some new things. And I'm asking everyone listening in the sports universe, what's the difference between Ray Rice, Hunt, and Kraft? They were all 3 on a video. What's the one difference, Big C?
Well, Robert Kraft has enough money to squash the video. He can get favors because in Jupiter, Florida, there's another golf course down there that the guy flies in on Air Force One all the time and visits.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody from the Justice Department making a call to a judge saying we need to have this go away, it's going to go away. That's the privilege that an NFL owner has because he's a billionaire and he's a close friend of the guy that lives in the White House.
Yeah.
And so this thing is going to go away with Robert Kraft. As much steam as it had when it initially started, Charlton, it's basically gone away.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, been doing his thing 50 years. He said, Charlton, our job is to make sure that we tell people that what they just saw, that they did not see with their own eyes. And he was right, Big C. I'll just say for all the women, we say it on every show at Big C Sports for 3 years. And there's no excuse for sexual assault. There's no excuse. And if you know somebody going through it, just pick up the phone, call 911 because we got to protect our daughters. And for the knucklehead men who try to make excuses for it, maybe through the laws of justice it will happen to them someday. I know they don't look at it that way, but maybe that's what nature would do. Big C, in the NFL, Russell Wilson, now he's what you consider an African-American man, very considerate. He just bought all of his 13 offensive linemen $12,000 in Amazon stock. He also purchased his wife, Sierra, your music catalog so she could own it. Now, the average quarterback, we've heard of people giving a Rolex watch, sometimes even a car. But if you have Amazon stock, hopefully it goes up in price. But that's a pretty thoughtful way of looking at things for linemen who they don't make nearly the money he makes, Big C. That's a good gesture. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a great gesture for the future. Amazon is the world's largest company when you think about it, and it's not going to slow down at any time. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, is the world's richest man. You think about quarterbacks who've given gifts over time, and I go back to Dan Marino, who gave all his offensive linemen Isotona gloves. It's like, wow. You think about that.
It's cold in Florida, isn't it?
$10 pair of gloves from Dan Marino. And you think about what Russell Wilson did. $12,000 of Amazon stock. And we know that all offensive linemen in the NFL earn a decent income. But what he did by this, Charlton, is that he set out money for the future for you. Because as a player, you're not going to touch it. You have no reason to go touch the Amazon stock. You get a Rolex watch, wow, you're going to, when can you wear it? During the game? As an offensive lineman, your wrist is normally all swollen and beat up. You don't have time to put the watch on.
No.
But this Amazon stock, Charlton, you're going to have children that you can pass this on to. And so as you think about Russell Wilson, not just taking care of his offensive linemen, but taking care of their family in the future. Because that $12,000 worth of Amazon stock, think about what it may be worth in 20 years. That's what you're looking at. That $12,000 might be worth $100,000 or more in 20 years. But a tremendous gesture taking care of his offensive lineman's family.
I really appreciate Russell Wilson. I know a lot of players, they still will always never forgive him for that fourth and one pass from the goal line, and our 4th and goal from the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl versus the New England Patriots. And no one knows if Pete Carroll that called it. Pete Carroll was not the offensive coordinator. Many people still feel that was an audible. A lot of the Seahawks players feel that, but Carroll fell on the sword for that. but a great gesture for his offensive lineman. Big C, also in the world of NFL football, you look at the Seahawks, they trade all-pro defensive end Frank Clark to the Kansas City Chiefs for their first-round draft pick this year and the second-round draft pick in 2020. Now, he's a pretty good player. That's a good addition for Kansas City that should have been in the AFC Championship game last year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about the Chiefs. They get rid of Dee Ford. They let him walk in free agency. And now you picked up Frank Clark, who was second in the NFL in sacks last year. So this is a tremendous add-on for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know they have a tremendous offense. They're making a wholesale changes on defense. And now you brought in Frank Clark, an all-pro proven player, Charlton. You don't have to worry about the draft where somebody is being drafted on potential. You have a guy who's NFL ready that you pencil in, and he'll help your defense. They also got Tyrann Mathieu at safety that's going to do a tremendous job. So when you think about where the Chiefs were offensively last year, making it to the AFC Championship game without a defense, Charlton, those are all the moves that they've done here in the offseason, making a move. The NFL draft has already been changed, Charlton, because the Seattle Seahawks now have that first-round draft pick from the Kansas City Chiefs and the second rounder next year.
Yeah, and a game they could have won last year also against New England. Big C, kicker Robbie Goldred, man, he wants to trade from the 49ers, said he would not renegotiate, and he will hold out. I know the 49ers put a lot of hope into Garoppolo, but they're still an organization that seems to have some dysfunction still. Still, I would have thought that over the offseason that Garoppolo would have renegotiated his contract, basically stealing money from the organization last year. People don't realize this guy had as many interceptions as he had touchdowns while he was healthy. They just look at the fact that he was injured. But if you look at his QBR and his touchdown to interception ratio, he was on the bottom of the pack in the NFL. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I like Robbie Gould's position. He doesn't want to be in San Francisco. They franchise tagged him. He wants to go back to Chicago where he can be around his kids and his friends. You think about it, as a man wants to be around his children when they're growing up. When I heard about this move with Robbie Gould saying he wanted to be traded and he was holding out, first thing that came to mind was LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James made a statement earlier in the year saying that the NFL owners had a slave mentality.
Yeah.
And the players had no power, no options. But you think about John Lynch, you think about him as a GM, and even Shanahan as a head coach.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be around your children when they're young? Here's a guy whose home is in Chicago.
Yep.
His children go to school in Chicago. Now, if you got a disgruntled kicker, how many misses does he have to have during the regular season before you cut him?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if they don't let Robbie Gould go and they keep him on the roster,
White, right?
He won't be 5 weeks into the season before he has 5 misses.
Bobby Bowden, White, right, down in Florida State, Big Z. That's a good statement. But people get kicked. They can kick and miss enough, and their job will be on the line too. So we'll see how that happens. But hopefully, I wish the 49ers well. It'd be nice to see them return to glory. But it's still, if Garoppolo's their leader, he won't renegotiate his contract. He won't do what Tom Brady does. Isn't that something? Think about Tom Brady, a Bay Area kid, grew up in Santa Clara, went to Cerro High School, San Mateo. He negotiates his contract, and he has more Super Bowl championships than anybody else, and the guy they wanted to replace him won't even do that. Big C, I want to look at a different sport tonight. A little bit of talk the NHL. There's 2 Game 7s tonight. Toronto's at Boston, and then Las Vegas is at San Jose. So the Sharks, they're trying to play with a little bit of moxie. And then you look at San Jose, they've never won a Stanley Cup. They're in position tonight to have a chance to advance. I would love to see that because I'm a Bay Area guy. Give me your feeling, Toronto at Boston, and then Las Vegas and San Jose, Big C.
Well, Charlton, when you look at it, the NHL has become the best playoff series thus far.
Yeah.
You think about you've had 2 NBA 4-game sweeps.
Yeah.
You look at the NHL, you got 2 7-game series in the first round.
Yeah.
And you think about that, that's what the fans want, that you're pushing it 7 games, that every game has meant something. It hasn't been any blowouts, Charlton. You go 3-3, and tonight you got 2 Game 7s. I like the Golden Knights because they went there last year. They were in the Stanley Cup final. I see them getting back.
Yeah.
Well, when I look at Toronto and Boston, Charlton, I have to think about what Boston has done really in the past year. You think about Boston when it comes to a Game 7 series.
Yeah.
You know, the Sox won the World Series last year. The Patriots won the Super Bowl. The Celtics were one game away from making the NBA Finals.
Yep.
So I'm going to put my hat in the ring with the Boston Bruins tonight, Charlton, and knocking out the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, we know they're all looking forward to it, and it's a great business. It's a great business. Hockey, again, started in Africa, on the African continent back in the day. And some good old boys, as people migrated around the world, they brought it into Canada. And a lot of people in Canada get the belief that it started there. But it's a great sport, and Game 7s are always great in any sport. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. We're going to take a little pause called the Big C Pause, and we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, Big C, we are right back after the Big C pause. I want to just say there's a lot going on in sports and leading up to the draft. I know that we have our own thoughts about it. We still have some NBA games to go down the wire and cover them. But before we even get into NBA, the Suns fired the head coach after less than a year on the job. So that happened to their football franchise and now their NBA franchise. It's not safe having a job in Arizona, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about the last two basketball coaches that they've had. Earl Watson, they fired him last year.
Oh, yeah?
And now the coach Charlton, he didn't get a full season.
No.
So if you're thinking about going down to Phoenix and coaching, don't buy a house. Just rent. Get yourself an apartment.
Yep.
Because, this is a young franchise that we've seen the last 2 years picking in the top tier of the NBA draft. They're going to do it again, for the third consecutive year.
Yep.
So they have nothing. If you're thinking about the owner, if it wasn't for Dolan owning the Knicks, you'd be looking at the owner of the Suns saying, this guy's crazy. But
Yep.
Dolan, because he's in New York, is getting all the headlines. But you fired two coaches in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a very unstable franchise.
Yeah, that's not good for the league. At least give the man a chance to turn some things around. I want to look at some NBA. Milwaukee eliminates Detroit in 4 games. Just Giannis, 41 points. He did that in 30 minutes. And now the Boston Celtics are up, the most storied franchise in NBA lore. And the Boston had that great broadcaster back in the day. His name is drawing a blank to me right now, but I love Larry Bird. Johnny Most. Larry Bird still saying ball pass. Larry Bird scores, the Celtics take the lead. I remember that guy. I thought he was always having some type of voice problems, but I think they smoked a lot of cigars, and they didn't have air conditioning in Boston Garden. Thanks for your thoughts, but give me your feeling. Will this Boston Celtic team give some hope to the Boston fans? I think they're playing the most dominant team in the Eastern Conference in the Milwaukee Bucks, but Boston played in Game 7 last year. If there's any type of thing that they can draw on, it might be that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about the veteran leadership of the Boston team, they've come around here in the playoffs. Kyrie Irving was bashed so much during the regular season
for winning,
being a cancer for this team, Charlton, but he has led them in the playoffs in a 4-0 sweep. But when you look at Milwaukee, this is a complete team. They have no weaknesses right now, and they dominated Detroit in that series.
Yeah.
They won in 4 games. There was a 94-point differential during the 4 games that they beat Detroit. So this is a team that's on a high. They had the best record in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Boston had some struggles throughout the season. I see it's a mismatch problem for Boston when it comes to playing Milwaukee. Everyone will talk about Giannis, but this is a very balanced lineup that they have.
Yeah, and let me get your feeling before we get to the next game. You have Giannis, Gordon, and you have Middleton, and you have Irving. Which of those two would be the dynamic two that carries our team to advance to the Eastern Conference Championship? Your feelings?
Well, Giannis is going to do what he has to do. I think that the support cast there in Milwaukee is the biggest attribute that they have. Lopez has played lights out in the center position for Milwaukee. I don't know if Horford can keep up with him in this series because the height difference inside, Charlton, and just even with Giannis inside, I think they're just too long when you're looking at Milwaukee, for Boston to hang with them. I see this series over in 5 games.
Well, that's a very big statement, especially for a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. We'll see what happens. The Rockets, you think about the 0 for 14 from three-point line, and they lose game 4. Quinn Snyder, I thought he was too good a coach to not realize that his team was playing defense with their hands down. They were not trying to foul. They were trying to make sure their hands were down because Houston's so good at faking like they were being hit. In fact, I was seeing some clips of, Harden and also Paul. They should be fined for flopping because they get you can breathe on them and they'll flop like Mike Tyson hit them, and oftentimes they'll get the call. So I think that intimidated the Jazz too many times that they would make sure that didn't happen to them, so they keep their hands down. And even AAU guys said, why are their hands down when someone's driving the basket? Last night they played with their hands up. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everybody saw the vulnerability of the Rockets. When you force them out on that three-point line and they're not hitting. We've talked many times about James Harden's role throughout the season, that he had to carry this roster when they had so many injuries.
Yeah.
And when it came to the playoffs, would he be able to keep up that same moxie throughout the playoffs, have those 30-plus point nights?
Yeah.
And it showed last night the vulnerability that when you're not hitting the threes, the legs are not there. That's the first thing to go, is the legs, and you're not getting that lift and push on the shots.
Yeah.
But going 0 for 14 in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, Charlton, what's going to happen if you win this series and you got to face the Warriors? This is a team full of assassins. So, Houston is really going to have to regroup here.
Yeah, they may have a problem. The Spurs and the Nuggets game 5 tonight. This has turned into a real series. I've always thought that Coach Pop could outcoach anybody given the talent. I don't know how they can't outcoach Denver. Denver's a good player. I know the Joker's a good player, but I still think 21 years of experience would have done something for them. But Denver may just have stronger legs. They tend to play more relaxed. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is the team that figured things out in Denver.
Yeah.
San Antonio got off to a hot start, but Denver is like that tortoise in the hare. Just take my time and get there. And when you let Jokic stay in the game, when you let him dictate what's going on, then he's going to make a change. In how you play. And that's what Denver's done. They've made the adjustments against San Antonio. San Antonio got out to a rocket fast start, but they haven't been consistent. They're somewhat like the Houston Rockets. You got to play that way every game. Now they find themselves in a dogfight.
They do find themselves in a dogfight. Real quick, and then I want to get into Big C's NFL draft. Orlando at Toronto. The game's already underway. We have Brooklyn at Philadelphia. That game is also underway. San Antonio is going to be at Denver. That game starting just shortly. And then Oklahoma City tonight at Portland. Give me your feeling on what we have going in. It's a good basketball lineup. Give me your thoughts on what we're going to see tonight, Big C.
Well, I think Toronto will close out this series. They've just been dominant, and Orlando's had no answer. When I look at Philadelphia, how they've been playing bully ball, they got to hope that they stay healthy. Because the way that Embiid is being, and he's two technicals away from being suspended for a game. They roll over in the NBA. They don't get rescinded when you go to the next series.
Right.
So OKC, they just been a mystery. But the thing about them, Charlton, when you're getting the triple-doubles during the regular season, as Westbrook does, you're not always getting them against playoff-caliber teams. Damian Lillard is playing lights out. He has that chip on his shoulder just like Westbrook. He's the guy that came from the little college at Weber State that no one gave any consideration. They both wear the number 0. And he wants to show that he's the alpha 0 on the court.
And San Antonio, again, if they have any chance at Denver tonight, it's going to be very tough. But we'll see what Pop coach is like when his back's up against the wall. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, San Antonio, Pop has made adjustments throughout his career. But Denver right now, they were the better seed in the playoffs going in. They had a dominant year all year long, and maybe that's going to, show up here in the playoffs that they'll take care of business against San Antonio.
Well, we'll see if that happens. Big C, in the final 20 minutes, I know we did Big C's NFL draft prospects. Everybody has their own opinion, but I think we've been pretty accurate. And unlike a lot of people who say, trust what we say, we want you to Google what we say. We want you to fact check us. We want you to Google and see if we know what we're talking about. Again, we don't have producers in our ear. We don't have a research crew with 30 people trying to feed us numbers. We do this with Big C's thoughts and me throwing him questions and getting his feelings and his opinion on where people will go. He also adds in history like nobody else. when you look at the edge rushers, I look at Josh Allen, 6'4", 230 out of Kentucky. Also like a guy by the name of, I don't like him because of the racial vitriol he's had with impunity. But Bosa comes out of Ohio State. I'm not that impressed with his mentality, but as a football player, if he's anything like his brother at 6'3", 260, racism aside, because I don't think the NFL cares about that, but I think he'll be high in the draft. Give me your feeling in your top 5. We don't have to agree. I just want to get your feeling and your thoughts.
Well, everybody's looking at the edge rushers because the way the game has changed in the NFL, allowing receivers a free release down the field.
Yeah.
Josh Allen from Kentucky won all the postseason awards as an outside rusher at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Playing in the toughest conference probably in American football, the SEC.
Yeah.
Had 17 sacks on the regular season. I like him as being the top edge rusher in the draft. Everybody has always talked about Bosa when you look at all the mock drafts, but you got to also understand, Bosa has not played a complete season in the last 2. He has been injured in the last 2 seasons playing against college offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Now you're facing NFL defensive linemen every game. You also look at his brother. His brother has been injured the last 2 years in the NFL.
Yep.
So do you want to risk a real high pick on taking this guy? If I'm looking at an edge rusher, I like Allen, the number 1 edge rusher in the draft.
Yeah.
But also there's a kid down there, Brian Burns, out of Florida State, 6'5", 235. He has a motor that runs, and he's a guy who can get after the pass rusher.
Yep.
If you're talking about a pure defensive end, I'm looking at Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. Here's a guy with 2 national championships, and he plays on grass. I know everybody's talking about who the 49ers should take with the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
You should take a guy who is accustomed to playing on grass if your home field is grass, and half the opponents in your division have grass.
Yep.
Clelin Ferrell would be a great pick for the 49ers at 6'5", 260 out of Clemson. The guy's a winner.
Yeah.
Montez Swift, probably the best athlete at the edge at 6'5", 260, 250 pounds out of Mississippi State.
Yeah.
The young man ran a 4.4 40 at that size.
Wow.
So he has nothing but a tremendous upside. People will say, well, but he's out of the SEC also. So when you look at 2 of these guys out of the SEC, and Allen and Sweet, at Mississippi State, Clemson, Ferrell has 2 national titles. You don't want to talk about Brian Burns out of Florida State, had a bad team, but he was a bright spot every game of the season. Nick Bosa has not played a complete season in the last 2. You're taking a chance by taking this guy that he's only going to give you half a season.
And he has bad character. I wouldn't draft a guy with low character, but I know the league does not care about that, Big C. I like your thoughts on that. I want to go to linebacker. The days of Dick Butkus are gone. You think about some of the great linebackers. I like the guy Patrick Willis out of the 49ers. Should be a Hall of Famer next year and for the ballot. There's so many players that you could just look at and say this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer someday. But I want to get your... There's no Lawrence Taylors in this draft, Big C, at defensive end. But linebackers, Devon White, I like him, 6 feet, 240 out of LSU. Not a big guy, 6 feet, 240. But size does not matter. You can either play or you can't. Another guy I like is Devin Bush. He's Devin Bush Jr. He's 5'11". He's 235 pounds out of Michigan. Reminds me of a Mike Singletary in stature, but a guy that puts his nose on the ball, can even do some coverage when receivers get downfield. You don't have to agree with me, but I want to get your feeling in your top 5 if you think the guys at the linebacker position are going to show up big on the NFL draft day. Your thoughts?
Well, in my perspective, the most NFL-ready linebacker in the draft comes out of Texas. A kid named Gary Johnson. This guy, you can pencil him in from day one, and he will be a starter in the NFL. He most likely won't go in the first round. He'll be a second-day pick, Charlton, I think, out of Texas. But of all the guys, I think he's the most ready. Devin White gets the most pub out of LSU. This is a university that has nothing but defensive players that come out of it anyway.
All the time.
You talked about Devin Bush Jr. out of Michigan. Ran a tremendous 40 time.
Yeah.
That's what everybody likes about him is his speed and quickness. Mark Wilson out of Alabama. Alabama has continuously churned out NFL linebackers year after year because they're used to playing at a high level. When you're looking at an SEC player, Charlton, and they're always a dominant defense down in Alabama. Bobby Okery out of Stanford. Kid right there in your neighborhood. 6'2", 235 pounds. This is a guy, when you think about David Shaw and the intelligence of the players that you have at Stanford, this is a guy that can adjust and understand any NFL scheme, and you can pencil him in as a day one starter.
Yeah, I like the way that they put that program together down at Stanford. First started covering Stanford football back in '96, and they've had a great, Tyrone Willingham was coaching there at the time when I started, but just seeing what Shaw's done, they've sent more players to the NFL than anyone in the Pac-12 over the past decade. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. But I like that linebacker position. I think it's a good craft this year. There's a good draft picks for the linebacker spot. When you go to guys in the NFL, there's a lot of run-shoot offenses, a lot of run and then option pass quarterbacks, guys like Kaepernick, if he ever had the chance again. You also look at like the guys that Wilson up in Seattle. You need a guy that can run and pass, and you need cornerbacks that can cover the deep threat, also come up and stop the run when the quarterback runs. I look at quarterbacks, and I like Trayvon Mullen. He's 6'2", 190 out of Clemson. And also DeAndre Baker. He's 5'11", 180 out of Georgia. Those two boys from the South, I think they're solid picks. Give me your opinion on who could be some solid quarterbacks that you feel comfortable with lining up in an NFL backfield, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Grady Williams will be a starter from day one. Kid out of LSU, Charlton. He's 6'1", 182 pounds, long, lengthy cornerback. But he's played in a tremendous defensive scheme down at LSU and Baton Rouge, and I think he'll be a first-day pick. He'll go in the top 10 in the draft. Emmanuel Arare out of Penn State. Here's a guy who flew under the radar in the Big Ten. But you always put him on the best receiver whenever Penn State was playing. He should be a day one, pick coming off the board. DeAndre Baker out of Georgia won all the awards during the offseason as the top defensive back in the country. But Georgia didn't win a championship.
Right.
So, there's somebody who scored on him during the regular season. He'll be a day one pick, when you look at it. Trayvon Mullen, as you mentioned, out of Clemson. Here's a kid with 2 national championships. And you saw what they did to Alabama twice in winning championships, Charlton. He can play out there on the corner. And DeAndre Baker, as you talked about him out of Georgia, this is a kid who won the Jim Thorpe Award as the nation's best defensive back. Will he be the first defensive back off the board?
And you think about what it takes to play cornerback. I think one of the better cornerbacks I've ever seen, Deion Sanders, played all over the field, and he was so difficult to throw against. I know you like a lot of guys outside of Deion Sanders too, but he was one that you could just line him up and say he's one of the best ever. Give me your feeling.
Well, Mike Haynes, I would put Mike Haynes against anybody who ever played, as well as Mel Blount. When you talk about huge cornerbacks standing at 6'4", that could cover anybody. 2 former number 1 draft picks. They didn't get the recognition of a Deion Sanders because they didn't play in that Me Too generation where everything was all about the media. They went out on the field and shut down players. And you think about Mike Haynes as well as Mel Blount. You're talking about Super Bowl champions also.
And then that's back in the age of sticking to when you look at a lot of, Lester Hayes was a guy that he could cover everybody because you couldn't get away from his sticky hands, Big C. So I look forward to what we have in the cornerbacks coming out. Safeties, I want to look at the safeties position, and you got to have a safety that, because the run play option is going to be big this year. You have Jackson over in Baltimore. I still like what Wilson's doing up in Seattle. And I won't say as much, but when you look at what we have, even with Rodgers, I like down in Dallas where Prescott can do the run play action. Even though Donovan McNabb got criticized for criticizing, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a run play option guy, and he hasn't measured up. He got hurt a lot, and McNabb said some things about that. And the Philadelphia media said, "Oh, he's just jealous." I don't think he's jealous. I think he's seen it. That make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Donovan McNabb was criticized throughout his career for doing that. And he's recognizing a quarterback that did the same thing that he did. When you looked at Carson Wentz when he was in college at North Dakota State. He was a run option quarterback there as well as he threw the ball. But he's been injured throughout his college and NFL career. You think about the last 4 years with Carson Wentz. He's had injuries at North Dakota State. He's had injuries with the Philadelphia Eagles. How long will he last in his career? Injuries on a quarterback don't get less, and especially when you had a back injury. It was Carson Wentz's hand. The Philadelphia Eagles in the draft going to have to look at drafting a quarterback because Nick Foles is gone. I feel that they'll take their 2nd or 3rd round pick and they'll pick a quarterback.
Yeah, they're going to need to do that because I think we lost a little bit of your microphone. We're going to make sure we clear that up. They'll definitely have to keep someone healthy, and you can't count on Wentz staying healthy. I know run option guys get hit a lot, and I think that's been his problem since the game in college. I want to finish out with Big C's thoughts and your draft choices for safeties. And everybody has their own opinion, but there's a couple of guys that I think are can't miss. I know you may have your different opinion. Amani Hooker, 6'3", 210 out of Iowa. He's a big kid, plays in what people think is a running conference, but Big Ten teams can pass the ball too. I think Hoskins at Ohio State showed us that. So I look at him being a safety that's used to covering guys going downfield. There's also Darnell Savage. He's only 5'11", but he's 191 pounds. Out of Maryland, I remember the game they had against Texas, and Texas has some great wideouts. I think he will hold his own if he gets a chance to get NFL speed. Want to get your feeling on who you think your top 5 guys are at the safety position and who they may remind you of as some of the all-time greats in the NFL. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, there's a kid, NASA Adderley, out of Delaware, small school, same school that produced Rich Gannon and Joe Flacco, 2 NFL Super Bowl quarterbacks. And I think that Adderley will be an impact player in the NFL.
Yeah.
You talked about having Amari Hooker out of Iowa.
He's good.
Iowa. This is a big safety.
Yeah.
A rangy guy, Charlton, that can cover the field and come up and attack like a linebacker.
Yeah.
You talk about Darnell Savage, a pure athlete at the University of Maryland, who has played against some of the best offenses in the country. When you think about playing against Texas,
Yep.
Ohio State, Michigan, Charlton, he's held his own, and he should be a first-day pick at safety. You think about Juan Thornhill out of Virginia.
Yeah.
You think about Virginia, and no one pays attention to him in the ACC.
No.
But this is once again where you talk about the intelligence of an athlete. You think about the academic level of the kids in Virginia. They just won the national championship in basketball. But this is an academic institution, and you're playing safety at Virginia.
Yeah.
That's like playing quarterback anywhere.
Yeah.
You look at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson down in Florida. This guy is an intense player. A lot of speed. 207 pounds at the safety position, Johnson.
He's good.
There are some athletes coming out this year, and the way that the NFL has changed their offenses, where the safeties now have to play one-on-one against a slot receiver,
Yeah.
you have some tremendous athletes coming out in the draft this year.
Yeah, and we know it's all fair love and war, and we wish all these young men success. And so that's our version of what we feel would be, some of the drafts that will come out. We'll talk about some more, thoughts on why teams might draft certain players throughout the week. But everybody has their opinion, and I love the fact that we ask everyone, just Google what we say and see if you agree. Or at least if what we talk about, if it shows up, that tells you if we know what we're saying. I want to get your feeling on something. I know it's tabloid news, but I look at Odell Beckham Jr. and Gettleman having the words in media. Odell feels that he wasn't really given the respect now that he's gone out of the organization. And I think they covered up a lot that Eli Manning couldn't throw the ball accurately 30 yards downfield. That's where Odell Beckham Jr. could get distance and separation. That would give them the long ball threat that they didn't have. Give me your feeling on, is it much ado about nothing? Should you just focus on what's going on in the future? Or do you need to keep defending yourself against an organization that knew they had one of the best receivers in the NFL, but they kept protecting one of the worst quarterbacks in the league instead? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you look at it from Odell Beckham's perspective. He's a Cleveland Brown now.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the business that he's in, and that's called professional football.
Yeah.
Players get traded all the time.
Yep.
They don't have any control in the NFL where you're going to play. We just saw the trade with Frank Clark today. This guy was second in the NFL in sacks.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham was not second in the NFL in catches or yards
Right.
as a receiver.
Right.
And he moved on to Cleveland. He should be happy that he moved on to a team that potentially has a better roster.
Yeah.
He's looking at New York because of the fanfare that he had, and he's missing that. But as an NFL player, you don't have any control. We've seen dozens of players move during the offseason. Hundreds, really, when you look at free agency.
Yeah.
Those players are not disgruntled. They go on and look at the next paycheck.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham has a guaranteed contract. That's the thing that he should be happy about, not worrying about Dave Gettleman. He wasn't going to win with the New York Giants regardless as long as Eli Manning stays there.
Yeah. Well, even with that thinking, Big C, give me your feeling if you look at him and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's going to be playing with the Oakland Raiders. I think as quarterback, if you could say, Derek Carr, is he better than Mayfield? I say as a drop back passer, yeah, but a guy that can move around in the pocket, I would have to go with Mayfield. So Odell Beckham Jr. and Brown, which one do you feel landed on better, I guess, a better feet, Big C? That make any sense to you? Your thoughts?
Well, it's going to be up in the air. When you think about Odell Beckham in Cleveland, if he's only targeted 4 or 5 times a game, how much will he be disruptive in the scheme of things with the Cleveland offense?
Yeah.
And Antonio Brown, he's going to be the go-to guy in Oakland because they don't have anybody else.
Nobody else.
But when you look in Cleveland, you got to look at what they have. They got a Njoku at tight end. They got Landry on the other side.
Yep.
They had a young rookie kid last year, number 11, who had an outstanding year. So you got 4 great receivers now in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You only got one football.
Yep.
And you got outstanding running backs when you look at Chubb and Duke Johnson in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Kareem Hunt will be back eventually. So when you think about Odell Beckham, he's never been around this much offensive talent in his career.
Yes.
How disgruntled will he be if he's not the mainstay of the passing offense? When I look at Antonio Brown, he was made the promise by your friend John Gruden that he was going to get the ball. If Derek Carr is not on his back, Brown will be getting the ball in Oakland. They don't have a tight end. There's a lot of needs offensively.
Yeah.
So they're going to lean heavily on Brown.
Who has more pressure? Derek Carr under John Gruden, who he wants to get rid of him. He does. And does he have more pressure, Derek Carr, than Eli? Eli seems to be, they want him to finish out no matter how poorly he plays because they want him to be the prodigal kid for the New York Giants. Who's under more pressure? Eli Manning, who's not going to have a great performance this year, or Carr, who could be a decent quarterback, but he has a bad system in Oakland? Your thoughts?
Eli Manning is under no pressure in New York. When you think about how Dave Gettleman, the general manager, has stood behind him, and he's gotten rid of coaches, he's gotten rid of receivers. He's done everything that he can to protect Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Eli Manning has everything to protect him except an offensive line.
Yeah.
Because he has no mobility.
Yeah.
So Eli Manning is under no pressure. You did not win last year. You did not win the year before. It's been 6 years since you've been to a Super Bowl. So there's no pressure and there's no expectations of Eli Manning or the New York Giants.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's a lot of expectations with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
All the pressure is on Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Because John Gruden has come back in along with Mike Mayock. And you got these 2 experts that come from the broadcast booth that are supposed to be the greatest minds in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so now the quarterback, is he on the same page with them? So Derek Carr has more pressure on him than any starting quarterback in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't do well, he has to change his zip code next year.
Yeah, and then Gruden would just blame Mayock, and I don't think it's fair for Carr. It probably would be the best thing he could get out of there. Just a lot of games tonight on slate for Major League Baseball. We'll just run down, some of the schedule. Miami, a lot of these games are already underway. Miami's at Cleveland. You have Atlanta at Cincinnati. Arizona's at Pittsburgh. You have Chicago at Baltimore. And you have San Francisco going across the border to Canada, up in Toronto, 2 of the major cities of North America. San Francisco really kind of off to a tough start this year, but they have a beautiful city, and so does Toronto, so we'll look for it. That might be because of the series between the 2 most beautiful cities in Canada and maybe in the United States. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at them. Toronto's right there on Lake Ontario, a beautiful city, Charleston, great skyline. And it's expensive like it is in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But, the Giants are a long time away from getting to be a World Series contender.
Yeah.
This is Bruce Bochy's final year.
Yeah.
Is he really, managing at his highest potential?
Yeah.
Or is he just waiting to play out the schedule?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. In Detroit at Boston, you have Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Detroit and Boston actually had a game. Detroit 7-4 over Boston in that series. And you have Philadelphia at New York at the Mets, Milwaukee at St. Louis. I still want to see if anyone can hit the ball over the arch. The LA Dodgers at Chicago. What 2 great cities and 2-story franchise wearing blue. Big C, who has the more of them? Who carries the moniker for Major League Baseball? If you look at the LA Dodgers or the Chicago Cubs, would it be the team from LA? Or the Cubs, who've been, the middle part of the Midwest and just been probably the most favorite team of any franchise in Chicago? Your thoughts?
Well, you look at the Cubs. Everybody wants the Cubs to win. Cubs winning is good for baseball.
Yeah.
Not only that, you see more primetime games with the Cubs than what you're going to get with Chicago. By the time a Dodgers game come on, half the people in the East Coast are asleep already.
Yeah.
So, but the Cubs are a team that you love, and you think about the fanfare that they have all over the country.
Yeah.
They've been in the same storied ballpark forever. And I think that's good for baseball because they always have a packed house, Charlton, winning or losing.
Oh, that's a very good point. Love both cities, Big C. Minnesota at Houston, Washington at Colorado. You have the New York Yankees at the LA Angels. And you have Texas at Oakland, and then Seattle at San Diego. So a lot of good stuff in the sports universe. We hope that we have some great basketball games tonight. We know that NBA action is fantastic. NHL, Lord Stanley's Cup, somebody has to claim it. And it's going to be the team that gets there. So we'll see what happens tonight with Vegas and also San Jose. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we got two teams going home tonight in the Stanley Cup, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow where we're going to have the first Big C's mock draft, where we're going to lay down the top 32 players, Charlton, that will be taken on day one of the draft on Thursday and see how we fare against everyone else.
Well, I love that. We just ask everyone to Google it. We do it extemporaneously, but we do it with our higher self, and we're pretty accurate. You can Google that. You can also Google every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. You can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.